So I'm 23, and in your 20s it's commonly accepted that you age, you find yourself, and you discover who you're going to be, more or less, for the rest of your life. Statistically, if you're watching this, then you are a teenager, and I would like to offer you some advice. This is by no means a comprehensive guide to being a functional adult, but it's a few things that I think help me be a more clued up person. All genres of music can be good. Music is about composition, it's also about production. I've become a huge audiophile, and for years I've listened to music religiously for hours every day. And if I could go back in time and talk to my 14-year-old self who wears stupidly baggy jeans and thinks that new metal is going to last forever, I would tell him that I am absolutely in love with Justin Timberlake's 2013 album 2020. It's fantastic, and I'm not going to apologize for it. He ropes in a small army of incredible producers, and you can hear how expensive it was to make. But this kind of thinking extends to everything. I'm not a particularly huge fan of musicals, but I do love a few musicals. Working Title make rom-coms down to a T, just like Head Automatica makes college rock down to a T, and you can enjoy both because you can see the craftsmanship involved. Savings is great. My entire life I've just gone from job to job to student loan to job and never really thought about making something secure for myself, planning for the future. And this year, for the first time in my life, I have a savings account, and it feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder, that if something goes wrong, I still have that money there to bail me out, and I don't have to ask for help. I don't have to go to my bank and plead with them to give me extensions. I don't have to take out excessive loans. And once you're over that hump, provided you can keep getting jobs, there's no reason you should ever go backwards. If I'm clever, the opposite of stupid, I should never have to go into debt again. At least until I want to buy a house. That first step is the trickiest part, and I understand that a lot of you won't have enough money to put into a savings account. But if you're studying or you're working, there will eventually be that first big paycheck that furnishes you with enough money to live and enough money to have something else. And that something else should be some kind of savings account. Read books about the world. What point is growing as a person if you don't expand your horizons? I'm currently reading Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts, recommended to me by my friend Callum, which, aside from being exquisitely well written, is a story that kind of encompasses everything. The protagonist, based on the author, escapes from an Australian prison and hides out in Bombay for several years, focusing on his relationships and how he wraps himself up in this fantastically different culture. It's unlike anything else that I have watched or read my entire life. It's consuming media like this that's going to give you a healthier and broader knowledge of the world that you're not going to get from something like YouTube, which is just middle-class white people talking at you. Read a book about feminism. Guys as well. Feminism, or gender equality, is important, and it is not just one thing. It's a topic that seems more and more talked about nowadays, and that is a good thing. But understanding it before you talk about it is also a good thing. Tired of not being able to express how I feel, I decided to put my money where my mouth is and read some books. It's changed the way that I think forever, and I can happily call myself a feminist. It does affect you, like so many other things, and it also overlaps with so many other things. Understanding even the basest level of gender politics can help you understand race politics, class divide. If you want somewhere to start, I recommend Jessica Valenti's Full Frontal Feminism. It's written for idiots. The language she uses is really annoying, and it is incredibly US-centric, so if you're in the UK, take it with a pinch of salt. Our country's slightly better, but it's one of the best beginner's resources out there. Clothes are about shapes, not just colours and patterns. I think this is a more personal realisation because where and when I grew up, you were either a townie or chav, or you were a dirty grebo metalhead. I fell loosely into the latter category, and that meant buying giant, horrible nylon shirts and baggy jeans from market stalls. They didn't fit, and you trod on the bottom and ripped them up, and in the winter you stepped in puddles and they got all nasty. As I grew up, and particularly recently, I realised that I prefer clothes that actually fit me and accent the shapes that I have been given. Tailors are not just things you see in movies about weddings and the mafia. They exist for a reason. They have a job. I guess the tip here is don't settle for things that don't fit you. Which seems really obvious, but it took me a very long time to figure out. You will love boring things. perhaps the overriding theme of all of this advice is that as you grow, things will excite you that didn't excite you when you were a teenager, and you just gotta live with it. Again, if I could go back in time and tell my teenage self that I drink a lot of coffee, he'd be like, "Bleh, bleh, bleh." If I could tell my teenage self that I love nothing more than a starched, ironed white shirt, he'd hit me. Buy some starch. Think about double glazing. Look at the world around you and think about what improves your personal quality of life, and you will find that there is no shortage of things to be excited about. I like shoes. I really like shoes. I can't buy that many shoes, but I really like shoes. If I had all the money in the world, I'd be one of those guys with a giant wall of just racks of shoes, like sneakers that have never been worn, that I'm just saving. Accept it, love it, move on. There's tons more I could say on this topic, but I'm not going to right now. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments and I'll make another one. In the meantime, the next video is going to be talking about some events, some live things, some signings, some gigs. Also, since you're still here, in the description there is a link to pre-order my next comic and a link to join my mailing list and keep up to date on far more things than just books that I like.